Okay, I was going to wait until I had this all done with my prototype board actually assembled and the thing put back together and looking nice, but I just thought I'd give a video now to show that my mod for the DX3E true free position switch is actually working. As you can see there, it's all taken apart. Wires soldered onto the back of the two switches there, and that goes over to my microcontroller on the breadboard. For the time being I'm using that, but I will go to all surface mount components when that's done, and I will be able to fit a board down there behind the charging jack snugly out of the way, all heat shrinked to keep that safe. Now the way I've done this, one of the things I noticed when I started looking at this was delivered Sunday, but I did the best I could then. I was feeling a bit rough and under the weather and I just couldn't progress any further, but one of the things I found, both of these switch buttons that control either direction for the switch actually go to one input on the microcontroller on board, and that was done using two resistors. So it's using basically a voltage divider, so for pushing the switch in one direction would give a certain analog to digital conversion voltage as the microcontroller would see it, and pushing the switch in the other direction would give a different reading. So that's how it knows how you're pushing the switch up or down. So what I was doing today, now that I'm feeling a bit better, I was hooked up the wires to my microcontroller there, just pushing the switch buttons and reading the analog voltage that I was getting for each switch to come up with a code to get my chip to see which switch I was doing, and when I released it to put the servo back one pulse to the other direction to return it to center. One thing that I also incorporated into this is, at the moment you see this wire here, on the finished board this will go to a selector switch similar to what you've got up here for your servo reversing. So in one position it will be in bypass mode, which means the chip won't respond to anything it sees on the switch, so this will act as it originally did, which every time you push a button it would move one position in either direction, and again if you pushed it again. When the switch isn't activated, or is, I can't remember now, I'm still a bit foggy at the moment, then it would go into acting into a true free pos mode. At the moment I've just done the initial code for it. I've still got to debug it and see how quickly I can get away with pushing switches for that to still recognise what has been done and how it needs to respond to that. But for the time being, just to show you, at the moment I've got it working in the true free pos mode, and then I'll ground the wire and show you that afterwards. But for the time being, yep, we're all on. Okay, so, and you see switch there, and now the servo's moving a bit slowly because I had to run my breadboard power down to 3.3 volts to match what the circuit on the DX3 is actually running at. Even though it's powered by four AA batteries, that's 6 volts, or if you're using rechargeables then it'll be 4.8. But everything on the board itself, on the other side of the board here, you've got a 3.3 volt regulator. So when I hook my board up into it, I'll have to hook that off onto the output from that, just to make sure that my circuit's running at the same voltage as the board, so that they're both using the same logic levels, so to speak. Otherwise, if one's running at higher voltage than the other, then it could cause problems between the two devices. So yeah, as I've just shown you there, that is the much needed true free position switch setting for the DX3E that no one ever seemed to find. I did see on RC Crawler and a few other forums that people were asking about that, and there were some people that were saying they had friends that were electricians or programmers and they were going to get them to look into it, but nothing else ever appeared from that, and it seemed that no one ever got a solution to it, which was frustrating. And if I power that switch, okay, so this is simulating my bypass switch that I'm also going to have as well. So with that done now, it reverts back to how it originally operated with the switch, and then if I turn that selector off, so to speak, when there's a switch there, then it goes back to FreePOS. But still a lot of work to be done. I've got to redesign a circuit board because I assumed the switches would all be operating one way when I done my initial board design that I was going to etch out, but I actually found that it all operated in a different way. The switches rested active high, which was positive voltage. When the switches weren't pressed, it was 3.3 volts that the microcontroller was sitting, and when you close the switch, then it grounds it down to a lower voltage via the voltage resistors. But that's not a problem. It's going to be a small board. There's only a couple of diodes, a couple of resistors, and then there'll just be one switch harness in there, and yeah, it should be a pretty small board that will comfortably fit down there. I just thought I'd share that all with you and show you that there is still hope for the DX3E.